What's better than earning money from a 9-to-5 job? It's earning money while you sleep, which is made possible if you start investing. You're listening to the Real Estate Investing Demystified with your very own dynamic duo, Ava Benesocky and August Biniaz. Tune in as we discuss everything real estate, both on the passive and active sides. We feature life-changing stories of today's real estate leaders that will help build your own roadmap to success. This is a show that will lead you to a diversified portfolio, a much bigger revenue, and a next-level venture that brings you a smooth cash flow. Let's get this episode started. All right, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Demystified.
Welcome back. Absolutely. That's lots of energy there, Ava. I love the enthusiasm. Yeah. I don't have to wake you up on this one. You're very excited. I'm just joking. But, a word I want to use, which is connected to our guest today, is 75 hard. Has anybody heard about 75 hard? 75 hard is basically 75 days of this brutal and difficult diet and exercise and all this good stuff.
You make it look so easy.
Two main pillars of it is a 45-minute workout indoors, 45-minute workout outdoors, or it could be indoors or outdoors. Minimum one workout outdoors, and you got to be on a diet, and you can't drink alcohol, which I haven't drank for 16 years, and you have to read 10 pages of a book and all these good stuff. And I'm on day 53.
Is it
now.
53?
I think so.
And she knows. I was like, I'm going to do 75 hard. I can't wait to do it with you, but I'm pregnant. So August is like, maybe not the best idea. I go to the gym every single day in the morning, do weightlifting, do a tiny little bit of cardio, but doing like a 45-minute cardio workout every day being pregnant, I probably could do it. But,
you probably could.
But
you probably could.
Anyways, I feel like I'm, missing out a little bit, but you're doing a great job. But go ahead.
So
Brad.
we are excited about our guest today. I mean, in the space we're in, the old adage here that success leaves clues. He's the poster child of this concept of success leaves clues, because a lot of people that he is educated, that he's mentored in this space have gone into achieving incredible things in our space. And in retrospect, Ava and I always look back in the last 5 years we've been in this business that we should have got a mentor. Yeah. And our guest today, Brad Sumrok, is in some ways my unsolicited mentor, because I've learned from him a lot. We spent some time with him, if you want to kind of mention that part.
Yeah,
Ava.
We went to Orlando to a mastermind at this beautiful mansion, and it was a very intimate group. That's where August actually heard about 75 Hard. And I loved it. I learned so much, connected with everybody.
I didn't hear about 75 Hard. Brad was on it on that day. It was the first, I believe. And I said, hey, I'm going to get on this with you, Brad.
Yeah.
So
pure motivation.
But keep going.
But yeah, no, the mastermind in Orlando was amazing. We took a second to think about what are we struggling in life and how can we improve everything, and having this intimate group to kind of bounce ideas off of was incredible. So
and Brad is part of the what's his name? I forgot. He's one of the biggest kind of personal development guys in the world, Tony Robbins, and he brings a lot of stuff he learns from the Tony Robbins mastermind to teach his people. But let's give a quick background about Brad, and we can kind of start the show off, Ava.
All right. We're joined today by our good friend, Bradley Sumrok. We're thrilled to have Brad on the show. Brad is the founder of Sumrok MultiFamily Mentoring. Brad has guided his students to purchase over $6 billion in apartment complexes, helping hundreds achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. So from starting with a 32-unit complex to building a $1 billion portfolio, Brad's journey is nothing short of inspiring. He's not just about wealth building. He's passionate about giving back and helping others follow in his footsteps. So welcome to the show, Brad. Really happy to have you here today.
Welcome, Brad.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. And about 75 Hard, how this went down in Orlando is it was the last 3 days of June. And so the next day was July 1st, and we did a goal setting session that I learned from Tony Robbins, and then I taught to you all at the mastermind. And while you guys were doing your goals, I did mine. And then it occurred to me that like July 1st, I'm starting 75 Hard. Right. And so, yeah, it's day 53, and you guys did it with me. August did, and a few of the other event attendees. So, yeah, it was incredible.
No, we loved it. We learned lots.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it, Brad. Talk to us about the corporate world. talk to us about the corporate world. How did real estate investing start for you? It seems to be the biggest caveat of your critics have about you, which is offering W-2 workers to become real estate investors. But this is really exactly how you've done it. So tell us about your journey, please.
Yeah, well, look, I did everything right, or so I thought. I studied hard, got good grades, went to college. Neither of my parents went to college or finished college. My dad went, but he never finished. And so it was impressed upon me that that was the recipe for success, and I did it. And worked for 17 years, long hours, and worked for 5 different companies. And my goal was to climb the corporate ladder, and I did okay at that, and went back and got a second degree even. But what I found is that I lost my job not one time, but 2 times. So I found myself in my early 30s and realized that I wasn't secure as I thought. Having a job is not that secure. And so, I didn't know what to do, but I knew that, and not only was I not secure, I wasn't where I wanted to be financially. We all have a dream when we're 18, 19, 20 years old that we're going to be, successful financially, whether it's a millionaire or whatever that is. And, 17 years into my career, I'm not there. So I'm not secure. I'm not financially set or on track to be set. And so, I heard a lot about people investing in real estate and read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I didn't know where to start, but I researched real estate investing seminars. We didn't have social media at that time. It was around 2001. And so I went to a real estate investing seminar, and I was very skeptical, but somehow what the guy was teaching made a lot of sense. And after that seminar, I took massive action. And that was back in 2001. Now we're here in 2024. I've invested in over 10,000 units. I'm currently in over 7,000 units. And more importantly, because I started by going to a seminar, and I just got back from a seminar, a few days ago from Tony Robbins. So I don't just tell people to go to seminars. I still go to seminars and conferences and masterminds myself. And so I also started an event and seminar company, over a decade ago. And I've helped a lot of people get into the business. So that's like the 2-minute overview of how I got started in both investing and the education.
Yeah, let's kind of break down your transition a bit more, because when you go to when people go to school and go to college and get degrees and get a great job, you've reached the pinnacle in most cases. And the difficulty, there's a lot of fear there to then want to come out of that and take a risk into this new world, new ecosystem that you're not familiar with. Talk to us about your transition there, and what were aside from financial gain and time freedom, maybe what else was it that kind of gave you that inertia to want to start investing and maybe early success? Talk to us about that kind of transition.
Well, look, we're all taught to invest. It's just, what do we invest in? So I was taught to invest in 401ks. And then if you change companies, you roll it into an IRA. I was also taught by people, the media, people, my dad, that you should invest in stocks or mutual funds. And so I did some of that, in corporate America. I was putting 6% into my IRA and 401ks. And honestly, at the time, I really didn't quite understand everything I was doing. I mean, I was educated, but I just did it because that's what I thought was the path. And I didn't know any different. And so I had accumulated, some savings over 17 years, in 401ks and IRAs and stuff like that. But I had no visibility, no transparency, no control. There's a lot of fees in these types of investments that I've learned about now. I mean, I go to wealth conferences now that aren't even related to real estate, and they talk about how much fees there are in there. So, getting a job is considered to be a safe path. But it's not really safe. Think of all the people that lose their jobs. And as you get older, you become less and less employable. At least that's what I hear. And that's the experience I've had. And so, getting into real estate, I mean, look, I didn't quit my job and then start doing real estate. I would consider that risky and irresponsible. And I don't teach people to do that, by the way. I burned both ends of the candle. So, you know, I lost my job the second time and I went back and got another job in my early 30s. And I was making about 10,000 a month. So when I went to that real estate investing seminar and I read these books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I learned that work hard for a few years. Like, so I had a job and then I did real estate at part-time and I like burned both ends of the candle. So I did, you know, for 3 years, I did both. And my goal was to get enough investment income from my properties that would equal my W-2 income, which was 10,000 a month. So it took me 3 years, guys, to get 10,000 a month of net rental income. We call it positive cash flow. And once I did that, I had 10,000 here, very close to 10,000 with rental properties and 10,000 in my job. And then I felt confident enough to cut ties with corporate America. And then I built up and went from there because now I'm full-time in investing. So now I can dedicate even more time and more energy and more commitment and more resources to real estate. So that's how I did the transition.
Got it. Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, like I have students that come into my events and mentorship programs all the time. And they're like, Brad, I want to follow in your footsteps. And I just quit my job. And I'm like, no, please call your boss back. And like, look, you know, there's a saying, and I don't know who invented this saying, but they say that, you know, do what other people aren't willing to do for a period of time so that you can have the life that other people won't have. And that means work hard.
See, the thing is with Ava and I, when we started CPI 5 years ago, it was near an impossibility to keep our careers and build CPI. And keep in mind, we weren't trying to be real estate investors who trying to, trying to create equal income to their current income through real estate. It was more of a situation where we were trying to build an institution. And trying to build that, there was no possible way we could have continued our careers. Ava as one of the top agents, myself as a builder and developer.
We had to be hyper focused on building a company,
which was extremely hard because when we had to leave our careers means there's no income coming in, and then our burn rate was very high in building this institution. So it's definitely not the way that I would recommend it either, but it's difficult if you don't have that huge bankroll to try to start something this big. It's very difficult, and that's why we've seen a lot of people.
Look, maybe you guys had saved a lot of money, and then you said, hey, here's how much money we have, and we could both afford to quit and take this risk. But it's also, you know, a strategy called burning the boats. Like one of you could have kept your job for a little bit more security, but you didn't. So you burned the boats and you went all in. And that is an effective strategy. Like Tony Robbins talks about it. If you want to take the island, burn the boats. Like a famous Greek general did that. But I don't actually encourage people to do that because I do think it's risky, you know, but you know, you got to do what works for you, you know?
Got it. Yeah. And when was the first time you ever heard about the term syndication? I remember exactly when it was and where was I standing when the first time I heard it.
And I actually remember walking by his office the first time that he heard it. And then I wanted to learn all about it.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, like, okay, so the first two deals, like when I went to that seminar, I joined their mentorship program and they didn't teach syndication because the mentor didn't syndicate. And so I learned to like buy your own deals, buy as many doors or as many units as you can with your own money so that you can maximize scale. But like, look, no matter how much money you have, we're all limited by time, money, and resources. And so for me, my first deal was 32 units. I put 200 down that I had saved in my corporate America, you know, saving money, living below my means. My second deal was 30 units. I put another 20% down. So now I have 62 units, but I'm out of money. And then the broker brought me a 250 unit deal. And what most people would do is they'd say, hey, I don't have the money, I can't do it. But what I did is because this mentorship program that I was a part of, they also did networking events and they created some sense of community. And so I knew people, you know, because I showed up and people knew my story and they knew I had 62 units. And so people would tell me like, hey, Brad, if you get another deal, I'd like to put money in your deal. So the broker that gives me the 250 units, I told him I don't have the money and I got to raise the money. So he goes, oh, are you a syndicator? And I go, honestly,
Oh,
I didn't even know what the term meant. And I go, no, I'm not a syndicator. And he goes, well, where are you going to get the money? And I said, I'm going to raise it from people I know. And he goes, well, that's what a syndicator
that's
is.
a syndication.
Wow.
That is
And
such a
yeah, but then I found like a syndication attorney, so I could do it right the first time and learn the ropes of the legalities and the nuances of having, to go through, like whether it's a 506B or a 506C. So I learned that, and that was my first syndication. But honestly, when I first heard the term, and I was just on TV this morning on Good Morning Texas here in Dallas, and the lady interviewing me asked, so what is apartment syndication? So let me break that down, like, because it's a very fancy, complicated term, but it's really just imagine, and I know you guys know this, but for the listeners, it's imagine there's a group of people that get to know each other, and then they collaborate together, and they collaborate and contribute time, money, and resources together, and they go out and buy an asset, let's just say an apartment building, but it could be any type of asset, and they're buying something bigger than anybody could buy on their own individually. And that's what a syndication is. And then within that group of people, there's a smaller group, maybe one person or a few people that are the general partners, and they're also like the active investors doing all the work. And then the rest of the people are the limited partners, also called the passive investors, that mainly contribute money. So that is basically like my simplest definition of what a syndication is.
That is awesome, Brad. And you know what? It's so funny because August was syndicating deals before he even knew what the term syndication was. I mean, he raised millions of dollars for a ground up development project here in Vancouver, and he literally syndicated that project before you got excited about that. The word
It was
syndication.
maybe a little quasi syndication. It was more of a
Quasi-
joint venture because their partners were much more active than just LP.
But then just
active,
LP.
but no, they're definitely great thing.
It definitely.
Okay.
And you know what, Brad, I was going to ask you. So you bought your first 32 apartment building. Was there any stage, while you were networking with others, that you invested as an LP to see what it was like to be on the other side as a limited partner? Or did you just decide, you know what, I'm going to be the general partner on all the deals?
My first LP didn't come until I was in this business for about 10 years.
Okay.
And yeah, so like every deal I did for like the first decade from 2002 to 2012 was either my own deal or a syndication where I was the general partner. And it was only after I started mentoring others that my students would go out in other markets that I wasn't active in, but they would find some really good deals. And then I wanted to, invest in these markets, but like they were doing the research, they were boots on the ground, they were finding these deals. And then it occurred to me that I can have some sense of diversification by not just being like in one market or two markets in Texas. So then I started investing as an LP, but also as a GP. And so I've invested in, Florida and Colorado and Ohio and Tennessee and many markets and smaller markets in Texas too. But my primary MO, so to speak, is to be a general partner or the majority owner of a deal. But I'm still to this day, like I'm in 37 syndications right now. And most of those deals, I'm a general partner. But some of the deals, I'm a limited partner to this day.
Got it. Makes sense. What's your advice there to people as part of your mentorship program, or people that maybe they're not part of your mentorship program, like that you advise here and there? Is the advice, if their focus is to be a GP, should they always just be focused on that, or should they invest as an LP to see how it is, what the mechanics of LP investing, and what are the goods and the good and the bad of the GP, so then they can learn from that? Is that advice, don't invest as an LP at all, or try it and see how that feels?
It depends on how much money they have allocated to invest in apartments. So let's just say, for example, they have 300,000 liquid. Well, first I might say, hey, do you want to put all 300 into a multifamily? Now they may have other things invested like stocks or whatever, but let's say they got 300K. If they want to do, if they say, hey, I want to put 100,000 into 3 deals and they want to be a GP, then, there's not a whole lot. If they put 100,000 into 2 deals as an LP, then that's only saving 100,000 left for their deal as a GP.
It's case by case. It's case by case,
Yeah.
really,
Now, if
depending on
somebody
their.
someone had $1 million they wanted to invest, I might say,
Fair
hey,
enough.
look, be a GP, acquire the skill sets, you know, determine your market, get some deal flow, make some offers. But in the meantime, if you see a deal that occurs to you as a good investment, then put some of that $1 million as an LP. So look, to get to the long and short of it, I don't believe you have to start as an LP to be a GP. Now you can. So some people say, hey, I'm going to be an LP first and learn the ropes and then be a GP, but you don't have to, because look, and you guys are GPs, and I think you concur with this, the skill set to be a GP is not really like, how much do you really learn? Like, there's not really a role, an active role as an LP, like unless they come in, like imagine someone's going to invest with you guys and say, hey, I'll put in 250,000, but I want to have, like, I'll be an LP, but I kind of want to be like taken under your wing and learn the business, because otherwise they put in money and you guys do the work and they get the financial reports. So that's why I have a mentoring program, you know, and so you can find like somebody with no experience, be a GP with somebody with experience. And so they're not just cutting their teeth on their own, they're teaming up, you know, and they're contributing some value to a GP team, but they may not be like the main GP, so to speak.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense, Brad. Now, Brad, I want to get into 2008 a little bit. I was graduating high school in 2007, so I don't have much experience about where the world was at in 2008, to be honest with you, but I love hearing about other people's experience. So how did you survive 2008? Maybe you can share some stories with us. Talk to us about that, please.
Yeah. So, you know, I had several deals in 2008, but I have a lot more now. And I'm just saying that because what occurs to me is what we went through just the past 2 years was like a mini 2008, 9, and 10, but maybe not to the same extent. But how I got through it was, you know, there are some people, some are very famous, that they said cash is trash and you should live as if you're broke and always have all your money invested, you know. And I've been to some of these events, and who's got $1 million in cash? And I raise my hand, and, you know, they call me, you know, stupid for having that much money sitting around. But let me tell you something that got me through 2008, because there were some deals that, because of the recession, the greatest financial crisis in my lifetime, and one of those deals actually was in Houston. And not only did we have 2008, 9, and 10 happening, but we had a hurricane. Ike hit one of my properties where 40% of the units were damaged. And so, like, in that one deal, I had to put $800,000 of my own money into the deal. Now, I didn't have to. I had other options. I could have turned in the keys and lost everybody's money and had a foreclosure. I could have done a capital call. But in that deal, I was the sole GP, meaning I didn't have anyone else, you know, managing any other active investors in the deal. And I was the sole loan guarantor. So it occurred to me that, like, it's, you know, I'm the leader, and leaders step up. And so I took it upon myself and funded the shortfalls that we had every month. It took 14 months to get insurance money. And then as we came out of a downturn, which, by the way, every downturn will come to an end at some point, and I don't know when, but downturns don't last forever. And there's always a downturn. You know, maybe it's 5 to 7 years, maybe it's 10 to 12 years, but these patterns are predictable. Like downturns will happen, and they're predictable in hindsight, but you can't predict the next one or how long it's going to be. Like, anybody says they can is foolish. It's nonsense. So I funded some deals personally, and if I didn't have the cash, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I think it's responsible to have cash reserves personally that, you know, GPs, and I teach my GPs that today, is like, have some personal liquidity. Like, look, the banks require it. The banks require you to have liquidity, personal liquidity, that's not just sitting in the company bank account.
Yeah. No, you talk about market cycles. I mean, it's not it's not a personal opinion. It's a matter of fact that real estate goes through cycles. You got recession, recovery, expansion, hyper supply, and real estate continuously goes through those 4 cycles. And how long we stay in a certain cycle or when that cycle comes is definitely a prediction, a guesstimate. But as far as the real estate being in these cycles, and there's lots of money to be made within these cycles. And yeah, I mean, you ask the most seasoned real estate investors, they say the Achilles heel of real estate investors is debt. So if you have bad debt, or you're too highly leveraged, or you have variable debt, and we saw that recently in post-COVID era where the interest rates went up, what was it, 13 times? Consecutive times, or 11 times consecutive, and then a couple more times. But yeah, let's kind of switch the conversation here. We discussed your transition from W2 into real estate investing. Let's discuss coaching, the transition from just being an investor to coaching. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so when I took that seminar, I joined our mentorship program, and then in 2005 quit my job, and now I'm a full-time investor. And my mentor was expanding his organization. So he, asked me, he goes, "Hey, do you want to come and help me grow my organization and mentor other people?" And at first I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm retired and I'm 38. But then it occurred to me, like, 38 is way too young to sit on a chair and drink pina coladas. I'm at the peak of my life, which I still am, by the way. And I'm a high energy guy back then, and I still am, by the way. And so I got into the game, and I enjoyed being mentored. And if it wasn't for him mentoring me, I may not have had the success that I had. So it was now an opportunity for me to give back to other people. And so I worked with him for 6 years, and that moved me from Houston to Dallas. But then, just as things occur over time, and I had my own ways and my own ideas of wanting to do things, I started my own mentoring, an event company in 2013. So now it's been over a decade, and I've grown it to arguably the #1, apartment investing, mentorship and event platform in the country, which is why, and I'm sure you're going to ask me about the Wall Street Journal, but that's why they featured me. Like, they just called me, the other day, like, America's apartment king, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, you definitely are. The name apartment king is synonymous with you. Yeah. But an item that I think is important to touch on here is that a lot of time people have a misunderstanding or misconception about what mentoring is that you're going in and this guy's got your mentor or your coach has got these videos that you follow, and then great, I follow this and I got to go figure it out. A lot of mentoring, unfortunately, is in that way. But with Brad, and what Brad does is really hands-on. He talks about being a GP in these deals, and that might sound a bit convoluted for people that might not be very much involved in this business. But when he says that, means that, and I'm guessing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that means one of his students found a deal that made sense through the strategies that he taught them, through the relationship that you build with brokers, but they didn't have everything they needed to be able to, be the skipper of this boat. And Brad actually jumps in and gives a helping hand with his students. Is that true? Do you, as a GP, do you come in to assist some of your students?
Well, look, my model, my primary model in the mentoring business, and I actually prefer the term mentor versus coach, because coach to me is like, there's so many people that are like life coaches. And just to be clear, I am not a life coach. And the difference between a coach and a mentor is, a mentor is like doing what somebody wants to do. So like, I'm not trying to like have you go within on a journey to find your own answers and lead you through a set of questions. I'm here to like help you follow a proven path, a proven system. And so, yeah, some of that is delivered through, Zoom meetings or seminars or training modules. But a lot of it is through like one-on-one individualized mentoring, where like me and my team will get on a Zoom call or a phone call with the people that we mentor, and we'll walk them through the deal. We'll walk them through the underwriting. We put our eyes on the deal. We walk them through the steps. We help them with any questions they have, like, which market should I invest in? How do I do a market survey? Like, how do I, what do I do when I call a broker, or a broker sends me an offering package? Like, and so it's not just like, hey, watch these videos or take an online course, because
Yeah.
there is value to that, but that is static. So like that's static, meaning like you can't call into a video course and ask a real-time question in a real-time situation.
Mhm. No,
And so,
100%. No, but
yeah,
also another important part of that is the connections you've made over the years, the securities attorneys, the accountants, the service providers, the property managers.
That's right.
What has gone well, what hasn't, the markets you understand, there's some of the neighborhoods that should be no-go zones and what have you. There's so much that goes into it. So that when you hear this idea of mentor, a lot of mentoring programs other that are not like what Brad does, but kind of segueing into the next part of the conversation here is that,
can I
go ahead.
clarify that
Sure.
too? Though? Because yeah, that's a good point, because look, there are people out there that are real estate mentors or apartment mentors. What I've created goes so far beyond that, because if all I did was mentor somebody, by the way, that would be very effective, and I don't want to shortchange that. But it's so much more, because we have a network of industry experts, lenders, insurance providers. You don't want to be going on Google or social media trying to find a syndication attorney or an insurance provider or a property management company. And you want to be part of it. Like, so what I've really done is we create communities of people that collaborate. And these communities include general partners, passive investors, and some are both in both roles, and then industry experts. And then there's me and my team that create the content and do the coaching. So like it goes so far beyond like mentoring and just content. That's a big part of it.
Let me add to this. It's very important.
That.
Very important to add to this, because I see myself as some level of an expert when it comes to Canadians investing in US syndications, because I've been through it. I've spent the money. I've went through kind of blood, sweat, and tears to learn the process. And Brad actually reached out to me and brought me to discuss that with some of his Canadian students. So he goes out there and seeks these experts. So just that touches on that. But
and to add to that too, August, you remember when we started the company?
Yes.
We had to talk to like 40 different lawyers and accountants.
Exactly.
Literally, because we didn't have a mentor
to
guide us in the right way.
Exactly. We were very short in time. We had to kind of shoot through, and we still got the 10 questions. Last thing I want to talk about before going to the 10 championship rounds to financial freedom, and it's really a continuation of the last item we were talking about before, the topic we just talked about, is who is the perfect profile of a student for the Brad Sumrok student program, like the program, the mentorship program. So I break it down into these three tiers, really. One is someone who wants to leave their and all three of these strategies will allow you to leave your W-2 and live a very comfortable life. One is investing in real estate as a principal investor, owning property, either managing yourself or bringing a property manager, but same thing you did in the first two properties you bought. So being an investor, hands-on investor. Two is syndicating deals, buying these deals, bringing on joint venture partners or LP investors, limited partner investors, and buying these properties, again, managing it somewhat. And the third thing is building an institution, what me and Ava are looking to build, and our team, Paul Hopkins, Seth Ferguson, everybody else involved in CPA Capital. What we're building here, which is an institution, which is we want to build a culture around this idea of, and we have kind of our 10-year goal and what have you, following the EOS, the process, owning over 25,000 doors in 10 years. Everybody has a different goal. Everybody has a different vision. All of these paths result in a great place to be in life. But who is the perfect student for your program? And what do you advise on someone who has the brain power to go down any of these lines? What is the perfect kind of blueprint, the perfect kind of roadmap to success within these three or other ways that I forgot to mention?
So look, I'm going to take a different angle on this, if that's okay, because like, let me just say that some of my students, and I've been mentoring in my own organization for over a decade, and some of them have hundreds of employees and thousands of units, but they didn't start with that. They didn't start with a team of people. You guys might be a little unique in there, but I like if I'm mentoring somebody, I wouldn't say like, hey, let's build a team of 8 people and build your website and hire, acquisitions people and analysts and, investor relations when you haven't found the deal yet. So most of my students started with a simple desire to achieve financial freedom for themselves. It occurred to them that they just weren't where they wanted to be, just like it occurred to me 22 years ago. And, the profile is a lot of them are engineers and accountants and small business owners that are working long hours. So it could be in a job or a small business, including real estate, like flipping homes or, doing single family rentals where they're doing all the work themselves. And they're burnout and they're tired and they're not where they want to be. That is where my typical most successful student is, but it's not necessarily just that. It could be musicians and even stay-at-home moms that like have a second wind and have an insight that like, hey, I could be doing much more with my life. Now, that being said, having been mentoring in another organization for 5 years and in my own for more than a decade, there's a handful or more that have built up, say, an institution, but most have achieved a level of financial success with maybe, there's many that have had several hundred units or even a few thousand units. And then they are very, very happy. They're in their 50s or their 40s or 50s, and they're very happy with that. And they're making $42,000 a month, and their net worth went from $1 million to $10 million.
To summarize, what you're saying is build a foundation, do the basics, build a foundation. If you want to build an institution, go ahead. But everything starts with that foundation of learning how to buy apartment communities and going from there, either with your own money, syndication, or whatever you want. But build that foundation first.
Yeah, like get educated and get a deal or two.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's run through these questions. We got 8 minutes here. So
we wanted to I got a little bit of flexibility on the back end, like, not
okay. I want to quickly talk about the impetus for this show was the Wall Street Journal article that came out recently, which was written. It wasn't just quoting Brad. It was actually written about Brad, about the program he offers. When I first saw it, I assumed it was going to be a potentially critical article, but it didn't end up being that way. And they had done a lot of research, and they've followed some of the people that Brad had coached over the years, and these people have built institutions and managed tens of thousands of dollars and billions of dollars of assets under management coming from his tutelage. So that was really kind of for us to get Brad on the show and what he's achieved. Touch on the article a bit. Touch on also maybe the residual effects of it. Do you feel that there's been some level of notoriety? I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Are people reaching out to you to learn about who you are? Talk to us about the article and what has been the result of it after, before we get to the next questions here.
Yeah, so a couple things, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I could be a little wordy. That's one of my gifts and one of my areas of opportunity. But hey, look, let me just start with this. Have you ever seen somebody's website that says, as seen on, CNN, NBC, Forbes Real Estate Council? What most people will need to understand is most of these things are paid sponsorships.
100%.
The person won't say that. They'll be like, oh my God, I'm so humbled that I was asked to be on this show, or, I'm a Amazon bestseller. But it's like, look, most of these things are paid opportunities where some guru taught you to write a book and how to, become an Amazon bestseller, or how to pay a TV show or a magazine to put you on the cover. And then they act like, they were just asked to be on the Forbes Real Estate Council, where most of those things are paid.
I'll get calls these people out all the time.
I get in trouble for it. I get in trouble for calling some people out, but go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, but look, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to level with you. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with investing to position yourself as an expert. Where I have the problem is, if you're going to do that, don't lie and say like how humble you are that you are asked to do it. Right. Because most of now people at like Tony Robbins level, Grant Cardone level, I'm sure they get inquiries by the media all the time, but like, not when you're just starting out and you did your first deal, you did your first 11 unit property, and all of a sudden you're, on ABC News, and it's like, it's not going to happen,
Yes.
So I could have only dreamed to be featured in the Wall Street Journal for all the good work that I was doing. And even with the hundreds of people that I've helped create multi-millionaires, never happened to me. And it only happened when something bad happened. Okay. And one of my former mentees, got over his skis. He bought 3,000 units in one transaction and raised $51 million and lost everybody's money through his own decisions. And then the Journal found that I was his former real estate coach. And so they dragged me into that article last year in 2023. And then they decided they had done more research on me, and in their own words, or let me just paraphrase it, but they came back to me a year later in March of 24, and they said, hey, Brad, look, we want to do a deep dive into the multifamily syndication business, and we want to do a deep dive into your program, because our research indicates that you, more than anyone else out there, has impacted, more average people like us, corporate people that move from W-2 into apartments. Like, you've done this more than anybody. And I was freaking out because their negative of me was not positive. They had only had this reference of a former student that lost a bunch of money. And so I had these sleepless nights, and I asked one of my mentors if I should engage with the media, and he said, no, don't engage at all. And just let them do what they want, because they're just going to manipulate you.
And most people would be evasive, Brad. Most people would not have met with them the way you have.
And then I asked my other mentor, and these are both famous people, and I don't want to say who they are, but I asked my other mentor, and he said, you need to engage. And by the way, I will give you my PR team's contact information. And both of these people are billionaires, right? So they've all been in the media for one reason or another. It just comes with success. It occurs to me that the more business you do and the more people you help, you can't make everybody happy. So I engaged with the media. I engaged with a PR team. I flew up to the Wall Street Journal. It was supposed to be a 1-hour phone interview, and it was a 4-hour in-person interview. And they saw that I was a real person that actually was committed to the industry and my students and their project. And it was a completely different outcome. And then they asked me if they could actually talk to some of my successful students. And I was worried that none of them would want to talk to media, but like everyone I asked said yes. And so the Journal, the article that came out, and it came out July 16th or something of 2024. And when it came out, it almost appears that it's a sponsored article. It's so good. Now, there are some things in there that I wish they weren't quite accurate on, but let me just say this: the journalists they did a good job. They're good people. I met them. I've become acquaintances with them. They've asked me to, interview me again because they're writing a book, and they may even come to one of my training events. And they were fair and balanced. And honestly, I had a great experience.
Amazing. You have a few more minutes, right? We still got to do 10 questions and one more question. Market cycles, we touched on it earlier. Where are we right now? We're possibly teetering a potential recession. Still people talk about, I don't believe we're going to go into a recession. I think we've already been in a quasi recession. They're talking about the rates being, the markets are accounting. Today was 63% chance that the rates will be decreased 25 basis points in September, the next meeting of the Fed. Where are you at with where we're at the market? Obviously, market being cyclical, real estate investors have to make a decision of when they want to come in, when they want to go out. Is it a right time to buy commercial real estate, particularly multifamily?
I believe it's the right time to buy. If we look at a clock, I think we're at least at the 5 o'clock position, meaning 6 is at the bottom. Now, we could be at 6 o'clock. We could be a little past 6 o'clock, but it occurs to me that we're before 6 o'clock, but we're near it. And it's a great time to buy. And here's the thing, I don't know for sure, and I don't know how long it'll last, but what I do believe is when they start cutting interest rates, which they likely will in September, and then likely will again at the end of the year, and we get through this election, whoever wins, there's going to be a lot more certainty. Now, I mean, look, I don't want to say it doesn't matter who wins, because certain things matter. There's going to be differences in taxes and regulations and immigration policy and healthcare and all that kind of stuff. And they're not all good on one side and bad on the other. I'm not going there. But what will happen is after the election, the investors and Wall Street and corporate and the debt markets will have clarity and certainty, and they'll know what they're dealing with for the next 3.5 years. And I'm looking at this as like there's going to be some really good times coming ahead. So now is a great time to get started, get educated, build your team, acquire the skill sets that you need to be successful.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
Awesome,
Let's get to
Brad.
the next segment of the show.
All right, Brad, 10 championship rounds to financial freedom. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. First question. Who's been the most influential person in your life?
Tony Robbins.
Yep, nice.
Okay, what's the #1 book you'd recommend?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Changed my life.
Dude, let's get another one, since that one is a very common one.
Yeah, the Purple Bible.
I mean, look, I've read so many. I mean, honestly, what I'm reading right now that I find really interesting is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. But I'm reading it right now.
Nice.
All right. Next question. If you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh my God. Be more kind, be more compassionate, have more empathy. You never know what somebody is going through. You never know how a smile, a hug, some kind words could lift somebody up when they're down.
Awesome. Beautiful.
I love that, Brad. Next question. What's the best investment you've ever made?
Well, the best investment I ever made is in real estate, but it's not the real estate that you think. It's the real estate between my 2 ears.
Yeah, no, it's
The
great. No,
it's the investment you make in yourself between your 2 ears.
yeah. I mean, the answers could be philosophical, so we're excited. We appreciate that one.
Awesome. Now, Brad, what's the worst investment you've ever made, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Well, the worst investment I ever made was, one was a venture capital that I put money in, and I was doing it because I wanted to be accepted by the people running it and have proximity to them, and everybody else I knew was doing it, and I knew that I shouldn't do it, but I did it anyway, and I was right. I shouldn't have done it.
All right, Brad. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
Wow. Well, it keeps going up. I mean, look, put it this way: 10 million liquid is earning 5% right now, and so that's 500,000 a year. And I know how to earn more than that. But I'm going to expand this, and I know that this is a rapid fire thing, but I think people need to target 10 million retirement savings. Like, I see this stuff like, hey, if you retire at 60 with $1 million, how long is it going to last? It's not going to last long. So like, I would be very uncomfortable with 10 million, less than 10 million.
Right. Nice. Okay, Brad, if you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
My mom. She passed in 2015. I miss her.
Sorry to hear that.
All right, next question, Brad. If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably be teaching something, because in my heart, like, I have the heart of a teacher, and I'm passionate about a lot of things. And so I'd probably find something that I could share with other people, and probably start doing it for free. But when demand would go up, I would need to charge money, and that's what great educators do.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, my favorite question: book smarts or street smarts?
Street smart any day of the week. I mean, look, I was book smart for 17 years with 2 degrees, and it made me 10,000 a month. When I became business smart, which might be another word for street smart, I made tens of millions of dollars in the last 2 decades. So street smart any day of the week. There's a saying that Robert Kiyosaki has, that A students work for C students. And I can't say it's true, but it occurs to me that there's some evidence of that being true.
Great.
Awesome, Brad. Last question. If you had $1 million in cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
Well, I would put it into multifamily real estate, because I think we're at a great time to do that. And I've done that already several times, and it's my area of expertise. And that's where I would put my money.
Awesome, Brad. We really appreciate you being on the show today. What's the best way that people can reach you? Just let the audience know.
Yeah, bradsumrok.com. So look, it's BradSumrok.com. There's no C in my last name. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and you guys know this, I think you guys are coming, but I'm doing an event in Dallas that if I sended you the URL, and maybe you could post it and share it on this episode. And it's in September 27, 28, and 29 in Dallas. And people
Absolutely.
yeah, they can find it on my website. They just have to go to the homepage and look under the events tab, but I could send you the direct landing page.
For sure.
Let's
We'll
do that.
We'll have it in the show notes. Thank you so much, Brad. We know you have to run. That's why we were rushing it. Forgive us. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Great we did this.
Awesome. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope this conversation enlightened you on how to win big in this highly profitable and risk-averse space. Get on your feet and embrace this world that offers so many opportunities just waiting for you out there. Continue your journey to becoming a savvy real estate expert by subscribing to the show at cpicapital.ca. Don't forget to leave a positive rating and share with your friends. See you on the next one.